welcome along. Hope you're doing well wherever you are in the world today. It's Friday the 13th, and I was thinking of what dark horror-themed commander deck I could get a game in with tonight. And I went with Selenia, Dark Angel, so a 5 mana 3/3 flyer. The most important thing about Selenia is her last ability, which is pay 2 life and bounce her to your hand. So there are a number of commander decks that build their strategy around tactically exploiting that last ability and pulling some shenanigans on your opponent's life total. I'm going to be upfront and say this isn't going to be one of those decks. Selenia is primarily a front for the colors and the artwork. So she is the captain of a tribal-themed deck that I've always wanted to build around a certain creature type. And the tribe are bats. So I thought this was a good time to try and spruce up the bat deck, given the news of all things bat-related this year, and I of course refer to the announcement of a new Batman movie that should be coming out in the near future. But Magic has a long history with bats, not a good one. And I want to take a moment to talk about the spoilers for the upcoming Commander Legends set. So we have an Elephant Commander, a Viashino Commander, even a Rabbit Commander, but still no bats. But that's okay, so Selenia can keep watch on the Cathedral until I get my Bat Commander. But I thought this would be a good time to introduce a couple of cards that have been printed in recent years to become the foundations for a really strong Bat deck. And that is, of course, the Bat Cave, which was really popular in a few standard decks that I saw in my local, and Dirge Bat, which was printed in Ikoria. So Dirge Bat really has maximum value in his mutate ability. So if you cast him for that, you can destroy target creature or planeswalker. Expensive, but unlike other bats, when he hits the field, it's not just about life gain. He actually does something a little useful. So these are the two cards that I'm really building the strategy around for this deck. It's really around graveyard shenanigans, extracting maximum value by putting creatures in the graveyard, hopefully bringing them back to your hand or recurring them, one of them being Dirge Bat to get as much value out of the mutate trigger as possible, and hopefully to also exploit Desecrated Tombs to get as many flyers on the field as possible. So I did allude to Magic's long history with bat creatures. There are a number of bat creature cards in the game, going right back to Homelands. Not often good ones, but I'm just going to run through those quickly. So Vampire Bats at the lower end, along with Blight Keeper, Gurmag Swiftwing, Flying for a Strike and Haste, Basilica Screecher, Grimclaw Bats, so it also can pay 1 life, and I'm going to talk about the paying life ability. So it has some synergy with a certain enchantment that's coming up. Dusk Hunter Bat, Foundry Screecher, which benefits from having the Bat Cave on the field. Kellinor Bat, Malakir Familiar, which has a Death Touch and gets pumped with a life gain. Screeching Bat, which can transform into a vampire. Blighted Bat. Gloom Hunter. So, a number of these bats don't, pretty vanilla. Sengir Bats really works in tandem with the Sengir Vampire. So when a creature dealt damage by it goes to the graveyard, it gets a 1/1 counter. But at 1 power, that's not going to happen too often unless you can bolster him with something. Bartizan Bats, another vanilla flyer. Blood Hunter Bats. So these are the bats that come down and take away life and give life. So, take and receive. Blind Hunter does the same thing, but it also has Haunt. Marrow Bats, 4/1 flyer for 5. You can pay 4 life to regenerate it. Often that doesn't really offset the cost of defending against a creature to keep him alive. Dementia Bat, so you can pay 5 to make target player discard 2 cards, potentially handy in a situation. Now we start to get into some honorary bats or bat-related creatures that have something to do with bats. Belfry Spirit is one of them, so not a bat in of itself, but it has Haunt as well, and when it leaves play, or the creature it haunts leaves play, you can put 2 1/1 black bat creature tokens onto the battlefield. So it's a little bat generator. Grasping Thrall. So this is one of the honorary bats. Does similar things to the life and the give and take bats. Sentry of the Underworld. A Griffin Skeleton, 3/3 Flying Vigilance. It has the pay life mechanic, so it has some synergy with Selenia. Again, not a bat in of itself, but check out that artwork. That's very very bat related. And lastly, at the higher end, Skeletal Vampire. So when Skeletal Vampire enters the battlefield, you get 2 1/1 bat creature tokens, and you can sacrifice bats with his second ability to put 2 black bat creature tokens with flying into play. So, you can sacrifice one of the non-token bats to get it into the graveyard, and you get, maximum, well, as maximum value as 2 1/1 flying bats can give you on the battlefield. So Skeletal Vampire synergizes well with the strategy that I'm trying to pull off here. Quickly into some permanents in terms of artifacts and enchantments. So Orzhov Locket is one. Hierophant's Chalice, a little bit of a mono rock that does some life give and take life in synergy with the bats. Bontu's Monument also does the same thing, but reduces the cost of black creatures, and given that all of the creatures are black or multicolored, Bontu's Monument synergizes well. Font of Agony. So this is the enchantment that synergizes very well with Selenia and with a number of other cards in the deck. So whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies, and you can pay 2, remove 4 blood counters to destroy target creature. So this is a very useful enchantment. I've got a few of these. I really like this card, and I really like its potential. Vampiric Rites, so sacrifice a creature, gain 1 life, and draw a card. Again, a good strategy to get non-tokens into the graveyard. Etchings of the Chosen, just to bolster some bats. And given that, you're paying life in some circumstances, especially if you are trying to keep Selenia alive, you want to offset that life loss with some life gain. So Righteous Cause is one of the cards that can potentially do that. And in terms of pumping up the bats, Ethereal Absolution, really a good card from the last Ravnica set. Pretty expensive at 6 mana, but it can shift the game a little bit, because it not only gives your creatures +1/+1, but it reduces your opponent's creatures by -1/-1. And it does some graveyard hate if you need to stop your opponent's graveyard shenanigans. So pretty useful enchantment overall. So just quickly with non-basic lands, not a lot in the deck, just your usual Orzhov Basilica, which really synergizes well with the bats, should be Orzhov Batilica. Orzhov Guildgate, Forsaken Sanctuary, and Scarlet Barrens as dual producers. I got Evolving Wilds in here, and I've also got Radiant Fountain to offset 1 cost of Selenia anyway. So instants and sorceries form a huge part of the deck as well. A lot of them are around exploiting the Bat Cave, recurring creatures to your hand. Also, a few of them are on theme with the abstract idea I'm trying to achieve with Selenia. And also dealing with problematic permanents that your opponents might be throwing at you. So, pound for pound, bats aren't necessarily going to mix it very well with the premier creatures in Magic. So, hopefully a few of these instants and sorceries can deal with any kind of problems that might be on the field. Just starting at the lower end, we've got Deathwind, a new double card, which is Consecrate and Consume. I really like the consume part, so target player sacks a creature with the greatest power, and you gain that life. I've got Altar's Reap and Costly Plunder for some card advantage. Zealous Persecution, so it's a bit of a pump and dump. Synergizes with a couple of other cards in here, which, especially that last part, which can, all things going well, you can maybe give yourself a one-sided board wipe. Final Payment, I really like this card. Dauntless Unity, pretty handy, given it's got, the option with the kicker, so you can either make them +1s or, +2/+1 for a surprise attack. Vengeful Dreams, I just sort of threw this card in here because it looked like a good idea. The idea is around discarding bat cards into the graveyard and removing problematic permanents that are sent, across the border to deal with you. So I'm interested in seeing how this card, synergizes with the multiple strategies I'm trying to work out here. Exposed to Daylight, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Mortified as the same thing, but also enables you to destroy a creature. Dark Bargain for some card advantage and some graveyard fuel. Inspired Charge. Likewise, I'm thinking, if I can get enough bats on the battlefield, you want to take your opponent off guard by, with the surprise pumps. I always like that. And the last instant is Contagion. So it's an old card. You can play it for its alternate cost, which I always really like from some of these old cards. I really like the alternate cost idea. So pay 1 life and remove a black card from your hand, and you can distribute 2 -2, -1 counters to up to 2 target creatures. So weaken something that might be a bit of a threat. So we get to the sorceries finally. Bone Splinters to destroy a creature. Severed Strands does the same thing. I've got Chain of Smog, which again, goes well with the abstract theme that I'm trying to spread with the bats. So target player discards 2 cards, and then they may copy it and choose new targets for the copy. So obviously in a one-on-one, I'm going to be the target, but in an ideal world, I'm not really going to mind putting 2 bats or 2 creatures into the graveyard, because we get into the cards that bring them back, and hopefully really optimize what the Bat Cave can do. So the first of these is Return from Extinction. Forever Young does something similar. Get into the 3 mana cards now. Wonder in Death, which has a cycle which can be handy. Death's Duet, Recover. Soul Salvage. Mephitic Vapors is a bit of a board wipe, or potentially a board wipe, but it also has the benefit of surveilling 2. I've got Dimir Machinations in here primarily for the transmutability to fetch out the Bat Cave. So it's 3 mana, so I can get a 3 mana card depending on what I need at the time. But most of the time, it's obviously going to be Desecrated Tomb. Asphyxiate to deal with a creature. Ritual of Rejuvenation for a little bit of life gain and card draw. I've got Swarm Surge as part of the surprise attack strategy. If you get enough of your Bat Horde in the air. Blood Divination for some card draw. Dead Revels has the Spectacle option to return 2 creatures from your graveyard to your hand. Aphido Dredging lets you pull back 3. And we get into the high end. So Bond of Discipline, new card, but importantly, it gives your creatures lifelink until end of turn. So I think lifelink is an important thing to have in a deck where you're paying life all the time. And the last card is Undercity Plague. So I really like this card. It's expensive at 6 mana, but target player loses 1 life, discards a card, and sacrifices a permanent. So that's pretty brutal against certain decks. And the other thing too is it has a cipher, so you can put it on a creature and potentially in the same turn get 2 triggers or 2 castings on Undercity Plague. So that can really set your opponent back if you're able to keep the creature around and run as many attacks as possible. So that brings me to the end of the Selenia deck. So as I said, she's just keeping watch of the cathedral until I get my Dream Bat Commander one of these nights. I guess the next thing to do is to test it out in a match situation and see if I can get the Batcave and Selenia working hand in hand. I've managed to arrange a game against somebody else who is playing a very horror-themed Magic deck. So hopefully the game will be up on the channel soon. But thank you for your viewership. I appreciate you watching until the end of this video. You take care of yourselves wherever you are in the world, and until the next edition.